Welcome everyone to your and my favorite YouTube channel, Not Another Demo. Is that how he says it, Lloyd?
Yeah, you got it.
Sorry to all the listeners. I tried my best to do a Matt Nelson impersonation and I broke it. I actually don't know what episode it is and I don't care because I'm super excited for the guest that we have today. AJ Yawn is are you a co-founder? How does that? Okay.
Founder.
Okay. Of ByteChek. ByteChek is an awesome up and coming company. Just got, you said, 3 million in funding last November, and we're going to keep our eyes on them. I've had the pleasure of having AJ on my podcast way back in the day because he did a SANS. We're going to jog his memory. So a few years back, he did a SANS webinar about AWS security. So this is before he owned his own business, before he was a LinkedIn top whatever it was, top awesome influencer. I got to listen to him when he was just knee high to a grasshopper. It was great. I actually reached out. I actually asked him questions in the webinar and reached out to him. And I said, man, I got to have you on the podcast. Let's talk security, AWS security and compliance. It was awesome. So fast forward to June of 2022. We are here and we're going to do not another demo session. AJ, I'm going to be quiet for a minute. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Aaron. And it's been a long journey since those early days when no one really knew who I was or what I was doing, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm AJ. I'm the founder and CEO here of ByteChek, which is a cybersecurity compliance automation company that we're going to talk about here today. I've been doing this cybersecurity thing for a little bit over a decade. Started my career in the U.S. Army, where I served for 6 years as an Army officer. Ended up earning the rank of captain before I realized I didn't like sleeping outside and I liked being in America a lot more than being outside of America. Ended up at a cybersecurity compliance consulting firm where I helped grow a team from like 9 of us to well over 130. And we were doing SOC 2, ISO, HIPAA, high trust, the full alphabet soup there of compliance frameworks. And that's what sparked the little seed of ByteChek while I was there, as I started to realize that compliance is a huge problem and we needed to make it easier for people. We needed to bring software to it and make the process of getting these compliance certifications a lot easier and more focused on security. And that's what we're building here at ByteChek. And I'm, appreciate you all having me on.
No, we're glad we had to wrangle with your admin assistant. When you've made it when you have an administrative assistant in Nicole, right?
Yeah.
She is awesome. She was very patient with me. The first question I have is Lloyd, in his prior position, worked in healthcare. I still work in healthcare, and we are starting to see so many different types of new cyber insurance and liability questions. And they're really pushing, us to look at third parties, things that we're doing. And so many times when we talk with, smaller third party companies, they're like, SOC what? Or, what do we need? There are some that are like, what do we need to do? Right. Like some smaller companies realize that if they work with us, because we're a major healthcare system, it can be a boost to their marketing.
Yeah.
So they will say, hey, what is this? What can we do? So at a high level, what is the company like ByteChek able to do with a small and medium business, if they're not big enough to have their own compliance program?
Yeah, that's actually the type of company we built ByteChek for, is that small, medium-sized company that doesn't necessarily have a ton of security staff, doesn't have a compliance manager or someone that ultimately has done SOC 2 or HIPAA before. And they're just trying to figure out, where do I get started? What do I do? I can't even spell SOC 2. How do I know where to go? They just want to know where to begin. And we have our platform was designed to help a company like that go quickly from I have zero clue what to do for any kind of compliance things to having a roadmap and being able to know exactly what do you need to do, how do you implement those things. And the way we do it is what we call an automated readiness assessment, where they would go onto our platform, answer some questions, and based off of those responses, the platform will get to work and say, hey, like, here's what you need to focus on. Here's the things that you have to do for SOC 2, and really lay out that roadmap. And part of the reason why we built that and why it's specifically for small and medium-sized businesses. Before ByteChek, I was at a large consulting firm called Coal-Fire Systems, and we used to do readiness assessments. However, those things used to take like 12 weeks. It used to take us
It's no joke.
A really long time just to tell you what's wrong and what you need to do to fix it. And if you're a small, medium-sized business and you're trying to get this big healthcare deal and you're trying to work with a provider that's going to help you boost your marketing, 12 weeks is, and I'll tell you, in startup land, 12 weeks is a lifetime. It is a long time, and you can't wait that long just to find out what's wrong, just to find out what you need to do to fix it. So we've designed it to where you can go from, I am a novice, I know nothing, to in a few hours, you will know exactly what to do for SOC 2, HIPAA, whatever it may be, and be able to go out and start executing on that stuff, because that's the hardest part is, where do I even get started? What do I even need to do? What does this stuff mean? And then from there, the ByteChek platform also helps them build their policies, do risk assessments, and some other stuff that we can definitely talk about. But the key to our platform, and really to everything, all things ByteChek, and as you know, Aaron, myself, is we start with education. We want to make sure that you know what you're doing and you know what the actual value is out of this compliance stuff, not just hurry up and fast and get you the report, because that doesn't add any value. You're going to get the report, check the box, but a year from now, you're going to have to figure out exactly what you agreed to and what you're committing to in that report.
Are a lot of companies surprised when you tell them that, hey, there's a couple levels to SOC compliance, and this is something, especially if you want to do business with healthcare or government or anything else, this is an annual thing. Does this come as a shock to them, or they kind of know it and they need you to tell them the truth?
Yeah, a little bit. We're a painkiller in the startup world. You're either a painkiller or a vitamin, and you want to be a painkiller, especially in the early days, because you want people to need you and solve a problem for them. You don't want to be a vitamin where you're like, kind of, I'll take it just in case something happens, right? We're a painkiller. People come to us because somebody has said, you need to do this. They are often shocked. They have to keep it active and they have to keep doing it year over year. And that's when the light bulb goes off of, oh, this is why I would buy your platform, because it'll do the continuous monitoring throughout the year and make this process a lot easier for me. But most of the time they come to me in a panic. They're coming to us like, we got to do this as soon as possible. If we don't do it, we're not going to be able to close this deal. How fast can I do it? How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? They just want to know all those details. And I'm like, all right, we're going to help you get there, but I want to make sure you know that this is a commitment you're making for the rest of your life as a company. SOC 2 is often just the start, or HIPAA is just the start. As you keep growing and going to other verticals, other frameworks start to come up, and you're going to have to keep managing and maintaining these. And that does come as a shock to a lot of the small and medium-sized businesses. They don't realize that this is a long-term commitment. They think, I'll just do it really quick and I'll get out of here. But no, this is a thing that you have to manage and maintain.
Now, so you mentioned education there.
Oh,
AJ.
Sorry. Go ahead. No.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. Jumping into the question. So you mentioned education there, and I'm curious. You mentioned how important that is to do, and I'm assuming you can accommodate various levels of experience, whether they're a brand new, analyst, or they've got a few years under their belt. Can you talk a little bit about what that education looks like, and what you provide, and how you continuously move forward with their education?
Good
yeah,
question,
absolutely.
Lloyd.
So in the way that it works, and I'll kind of just kind of talk about a few areas. Right after they go through that readiness process, they're going to hop into a control dashboard that will lay out, here's all the things that you're supposed to do. When they click into an individual card, think about a control card that says you must do security awareness training. You got to do that when people join your company. When they click into there, they're going to get an overview of a mitigation strategy automatically. It says, hey, here's the thing that you need to do for this control, just a high level. And here's some resources. Here's some companies. Here's some of ByteChek's partners that do security awareness training. And that usually is enough if you've done security and compliance before. You're probably fine. But some people that have never seen this are like, cool, I got to do security awareness training, but what exactly do I need to provide from an evidence standpoint for a type 1 or for a type 2? So same in that same control card, they'll see type 1 evidence, exactly what's needed for type 1. They'll also see exactly what's needed for type 2. And they may be wondering, security awareness training, how does this relate? I'm doing SOC 2 right now, but how does this relate to ISO? How does this relate to HIPAA? How does it relate to this? They'll have that same information there directly in the card as well, showing how it goes out to these other frameworks. So every control card empowers them with information that I used to just hoard as a manual auditor, and try to get another billable hour out of them to give that information. But now it's directly in the platform. And then on top of that, we have a really cool embedded help center in our platform. So in the chatbot, you can type in type 2 evidence for security awareness training, and you'll get an article or a quick snippet around what exactly you have to do. You can type in AWS and find out all this stuff that we do in the cloud. And that's one thing I want to talk about too, from an education standpoint in the cloud, where the value of the ByteChek platform comes in, is we connect to your cloud providers. We're connected to an AWS, an Azure, or GCP. We're pulling in data on a continuous basis saying, hey, your data stores are not encrypted at rest, or your security groups are misconfigured, or whatever it may be, right? And we're not just telling you, hey, that's bad. You need to go, that's just the red dot, nothing else, and that just walking away. We're going to show exactly what are the resources that are causing that particular control to fail. What exact security group, what exact port is open? You're going to see that directly in the platform. But we take it a step further, because one thing that I've learned is that the person that's ultimately responsible for managing the SOC 2 is not the same person that's going to go out and configure that security group.
Yes,
that's a completely different person.
You are correct.
And oftentimes the person that's managing the SOC 2 has zero clue what to say to the person that's managing the security groups and say like, hey, this needs to be fixed. They're just like, my auditor said this was bad. And the person's like, okay, what do I need to do? No, and they're both just staring at each other, right? And like, I don't know what to do. Our platform takes information directly from AWS, directly from Azure, directly from GCP, and says, here's what AWS says that you have to do to fix this. Here's how they say to fix it. And also, hey, here's why it's bad. And here's some links out there to resources. So that compliance person or security person, whoever it may be, is now empowered with a bunch of information to take to that engineer, take to that developer and say, here's what the auditor found is bad. Here's what I have for you that says like why it's bad. And here's exactly what AWS says to fix it. Can you go do that? And by the way, you don't have to tell me when you fix it. I'll know, because ByteChek will update automatically and let me know. And that's the piece that we're trying to do, is help. We have a part of our mission statement is we want to turn our customers into heroes without the heroics. And oftentimes compliance takes heroics. It takes you to do a lot. You have to get a whole bunch of people. And with our platform and the way we educate you, you can do that without needing to be this, Yoda that can talk to all of these different people and bring everybody in. You can be yourself and just use the platform to empower you.
It's funny. I could say 3 letters that would make Lloyd go into a spasm. PCI, because he was a project manager for that one. So that's huge, right? Let's break that down a little bit. Do you see that light bulb moment with some of those companies when they start to see like, hey, we can take these type of reports, we can have action items on them, or more importantly, to your point, follow up to see what things can be prioritized now, right? Because a lot of times when you're first starting out, you don't realize that the steps you take now will help you mature quicker, right? And that's key. And I know you're shaking your head because you know what I'm talking about. And if the earlier you get them to get that light bulb moment, the better their journey is going to be, right? So you guys being a partner as opposed to just the word auditor, that's huge.
Yeah. And I was smiling and laughing because the thing that we preach through the platform, our customer success team, when we're on sales, is that we're not focused on getting you to check the box for year one. We're focused on helping you build a scalable security program. Because we believe that if you're doing SOC 2, you probably got some business on the line and you're going to keep growing your company. You're going to keep going. And right now you may have 5 engineers, and it's easy for you to say like, oh, we just always will do a peer review. We always will do that check. We always will do it. That's just the culture. We all are in the same Slack channel when it comes through. I'm like, cool, I 100% know it. I'm at that stage now where you just see everything. But a year from now, you might have 20 engineers. Then what are you doing?
Good point.
How are you enforcing this? How are you building this into a scalable manner to where when you 2-3x your team, these security controls that you put in place today, they can actually survive in the future. And I'll give you an example of kind of how we do that on the platform. We connect to GitHub and Bitbucket, the version control tools where a lot of people are doing a lot of changes. And instead of just checking to see does every single merge to a master branch include a review, a test, and all these other gates that we want to see in the CI/CD pipeline, we check branch protections. We want to see, what are you enforcing every single time that doesn't require a human to make sure that it happened? Because again, like when you're four people, it doesn't really, you're like, oh, I don't know why I would do that, AJ. Three years down the line, you're gonna be very grateful that that was a part of your early culture, and you don't have to re-engineer everything to get people to start testing, to get people to start doing reviews, and basically build your SDLC process from the beginning. And we've had customers that had zero clue. They were super, super early. They started SOC 2 proactively, and some of the feedback has been, we learned so much about what to do on AWS that is going to set us up for success for the next 2 to 3 years as we grow our team, that we wouldn't have learned if we would have just been taking a check the box approach. But we made sure we understood, what does the future look like for you? Okay, we're going to make sure the advice that you're getting and the things that we put in your report, because the thing about a SOC 2, it's a commitment. You are committing to doing these controls. You're committing to operating in this manner. And when we shift that mindset of, this isn't a check the box, you're committing to something, and we focus on, let's commit to something that you can do not just today, but also 5 years from now. And not only, oftentimes founders only think about scaling from revenue, the team, the product, but we don't think about security. And we try to tell you from the beginning on your first sales call with us, scalable security is what we're focused on. We want to make sure that this is a long-lasting thing, and it's not just a check the box exercise.
Are they looking, so you're saying obviously they're looking at the environments holistically, but is that also something, you know, your marketing team is going to be happy with me. Is that something you should promote more, like organically? If you understand your environments, right? Like, this is security 101.
Yeah.
Do you know, like Lloyd says this in his new role, do you know where your data is? Do you know where your devices are? Right? It's a little cheesy in the security world, but in the small SMB world, that's huge, because you could then turn those audits into, especially in AWS, you brought this up on the podcast, like, do you really need that service running 24 hours a day? You know, can you get more automation in it? So could that be a selling point, right? Besides the SOC compliance, man, we're doing auditing and you can find waste in your environment.
Exactly. No, I think it is. And we've had a customer that found out they were wasting money on a bunch of EBS volumes that they weren't using. And the only reason they found out were because we checked to see our encryption stuff, availability stuff with your EBS volumes and some other security things. And they were like, we didn't even know these volumes existed. We had zero clue they were out there. And now we've saved X amount of dollars on our AWS bill because we're no longer managing things that we no longer need. You know, the hard part is that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't want value out of their compliance. They want to check the box, especially super early stage companies. So it's an interesting thing to sell on, because sometimes people hear that and think more work. They think, oh, we're gonna see more. We're gonna have to do more stuff. So it's interesting, but it is a value.
The ostrich, right? The head in the sand mentality.
Exactly. So, but there's value there. I 100% agree. And that's what the goal of ByteChek is that we show that not only will we help you get your SOC 2 as fast as possible, 100% we're going to do that, but you're going to get so much more than just a SOC 2. You're going to be able to see things and understand things about your environment that 100% would be overlooked. I challenge anybody watching this, go pick any of your vendors, pick up their SOC 2 report. If they're hosted on AWS and the report was not done by ByteChek, you will be hard pressed to find actual AWS specific controls in section 4. You might even find stuff that doesn't make any sense where they're calling things firewalls. And we all know security groups exist in AWS. And that's the problem with SOC 2. It's a cloud, it's a report that's supposed to be about security, and you're hosted on AWS, and I can't find one control on S3 buckets. And we all know how unsecure those are and how many breaches happen. And it's like, common sense tells you we need those type of controls in this report, but oftentimes they don't exist because people are able just to kind of hand wave over it and not get the details that we're given at ByteChek. And one of the things we tell our customers is like, hey, we're getting into a world where everybody's going to have a SOC 2. Every single person every company is going to have this stuff at the early stages.
Not wrong.
So it's going to turn into, why is your SOC 2 report better than someone else's? Why is the security you're doing better than this other person? Because you both have the same product. You both are charging me the same price. From a security perspective, you both have a SOC 2. what's the difference between the two SOC 2s? And when you can say, hey, take a look at our section 4, take a look at the technical controls that we have, the things we're doing that go above and beyond from a security perspective, that we're continuously monitoring. And now you're using security as a competitive differentiator, and you're able to sell against that and build it. And that's some of the stuff that we're doing here at ByteChek, is to allow people to use security as a way to prove that they are doing going the extra mile to protect their customers' data.
So you mentioned AWS quite a bit. I'm assuming you cover Azure, GCP, but talk about some of the other integrations that you do with platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a natural bias towards AWS because that's where I carved out a good portion of my career. But yeah, we do similar on Azure, similar on GCP. We also integrate with those version control tools I talked about, GitHub and Bitbucket. We integrate with Jira, HRIS tools like Bamboo HR as well to help automate some of that HR stuff, Google Workspace as well there. And we've been working on a checker integration for background checks. And you can kind of if you kind of hear how I'm talking about, we have the cloud providers, we have the version control tools, we have the ticketing systems with Jira, we have the HR tools, and we have the background check tools. And that's what we're going to continue to expand upon as we continue to grow the company, is having integrations in each of those categories, because I, just with my experience, know that we can automate 90% of the controls. We can connect to other tools out there and pull that information in automatically, and then eliminate screenshots. Our goal is that we do no more screenshots. You don't have to do Command-Shift-4 with ByteChek. You can save that for another auditor. So we'll keep building integrations in each of those areas. We focused heavily in the early days on the cloud providers to make sure that we can automate stuff there, but also that we can bring in a lot of that security value as well. And the other thing that I'll kind of talk about here with integrations is, this is a huge focus when people talk to us during the sales process, right? What are your integrations? What do you integrate with? How many things can you automate? And it's very important, and I think it's helpful, but oftentimes people forget that there's so much more in compliance than just the integrations and just the automating of evidence collection, especially for those early companies that are getting started. They got to write a policy. And that's one of the first things that you got to do, is get this policy written and figure out who do you want to be when you grow up from a security perspective. And our platform has two different policy builders that they can use to do that directly on the tool. They got to build their vendor management program, their risk assessment, all of those things people can do on the ByteChek platform. And the idea is that when it comes to governance, risk, and compliance, that big GRC word that is getting bigger and bigger by the day, we want our platform to be the last GRC tool that you have to use. Oftentimes people are piecing together all these different tools. They're going to SAN's website to find some policies. They're going over here to do this. And instead of doing that, just come to you can do it all in the tool. Policies, you can do risk assessments, you can integrate and automate evidence collection. And then when it comes time to maintaining this stuff, updating your policies, doing access reviews, doing security group reviews, all of that done on the platform as well, to really be that full life cycle. But the plan, one of the cool things about raising money is I get to hire a lot of really smart people that are way smarter than me. And I've hired an amazing CTO who's been able to build a strong engineering team, and our integration roadmap is pretty aggressive, but it's really doable, especially with the nature of the interconnected API economy now. It's a little bit easier to build those things. So we're excited that by the end of the year, we'll be supporting a ridiculously large amount of integrations in all of those areas to
Workday and Salesforce someday.
Definitely. Yeah, Workday is one of the big ones on the roadmap, because we got a couple customers that use Workday right now. So Workday's coming. Salesforce, we'll see. I would love to dive deeper into the use case for compliance there, but I'm sure we could figure out something and do that.
If we had an NDA, I could give you some use cases, but stuff that I can talk about. So you talked about using security as a differentiator. Wow, I need more coffee. And some people might say, "Oh, AJ, that's marketing. That's just marketing BS."
Yeah,
I actually have some use cases to back you up on that. And Lloyd's giggling because this was a point of contention between our risk team and our consulting team that we used to do what's called security pre-assessments, where we used a particular vendor along the lines of security scorecard, risk recon, you name it, there's several out there, to do like a security sniff test, right? And I use tools like security headers, SL labs, to just do a quick once over to look at a company's posture. the reason we offered that service for a little bit on our insurance side is because once they started partnering with us on projects, we actually had situations to where they reached out and they said, Aaron, hey, we have this project that we're doing. We've identified 3 vendors, and they said it almost verbatim exactly what you said. They're similar price, similar functionality. They're like, we know we're going to have to do risk assessments on them. They're like, can you help us maybe vet, some of these companies and help it narrow down? That was like a aha moment for me, right? Because all those years of building that network, building rapport with the business gets you to that point, right? So we did some security pre-assessment work, and we narrowed it down to 2 of them and said, here you go. You went from 3 or 4, here's 2, pick from there. And they loved it because they actually used some of the security scoring, that pre-assessment scoring that we did, to eliminate some vendors. So it's not marketing jargon. I have seen it in the real world. Lloyd, I guess you got any follow-ups to that to say like that is a real thing?
It's a real thing. And we can just leave it there for right now because we could go down a rabbit hole that would take us hours of conversation.
So just before we started recording, I asked you like, what were you most excited for and some of the stuff that, you got coming out down the pipeline, obviously besides integration stuff. You had talked about new functionalities. Let's take some time to talk about that.
Yeah, we have an exciting new feature that we're releasing here in the next couple weeks, where one of the things that I've learned, and the reason I started ByteChek, is that compliance is so much more than that little tiny window that people think about when the auditor shows up and you got to prove your controls. There's all this prep beforehand of getting ready. There's all the building of the policies. There's all of the activities that you actually have to do that you end up proving, the risk assessments, et cetera. Then there's the audit piece of collecting the evidence. Then there's the whole pain of reporting, of going through that back and forth with the auditor and getting your report, finalizing that, all those emails back and forth. That's a segment that we help out with at ByteChek as well. We have this reporting functionality that we can talk about. But then after that, you get your report and you feel amazing. You're like, oh yeah, absolutely. I got my SOC 2. We're about to close all these deals. And then you realize that actually sharing your SOC 2 and actually getting people to understand what's in the SOC 2 is becomes another pain because it takes a bunch of emails back and forth, a bunch of NDAs, and then you share the SOC 2 and the reader of the report doesn't have no clue where the information is. So they send you a vendor security questionnaire asking you the same questions that are in your SOC 2 report. And you're just like, what is going on in this industry? How do I do this? And we built a feature.
A fact.
It happens. It's crazy. So we built a feature to help with that aspect of once you get your SOC 2, you're going to be able to share it directly from the ByteChek platform by quickly just hitting the button, typing in someone's email. They'll get an email to log in. They'll have to do MFA, so it's protected and secure, and you're not just sharing it with anyone. But the really cool thing is you're not just sharing a PDF of your SOC 2 because no one knows how to read these things. I do, and I've read too many of them, unfortunately, so I know how to read them. I know where they are. And what we did was we created a dashboard that is going to pull out all of those important details you care about. What kind of SOC 2 report is it? Is it a type 1 or a type 2? What are the dates? What are those trust service categories or think pillars in the SOC 2 report? What's the overall opinion? Did they pass or did they fail? Oftentimes people don't even know where to look for that part and they just flip to the back. What is the actual components of the system? One of the interesting things about SOC 2 is people don't know to read section 3 when that outlines what's the actual service that was evaluated in the SOC 2. So you could be using a cloud hosted version of an app and you get a SOC 2 and it's for their on-prem version. And you're like, cool, this is great. But you didn't actually even look at the version that you're using. So we're going to show you.
I'm doing good. Oh, wait a second. Exactly. There is a reason why that's perfect. It's on-prem and we're a cloud company.
Exactly. So you're going to be able to find out like, hey, like they said they were hosted in AWS. I don't see anything about AWS here in their components. And that will be displayed on the dashboard. You're also going to be able to search for those key controls that you actually care about. If you care about how are they protecting my data at rest, how do they protect my data in transit, you're going to be able to search for those type of controls and look for that information. So now when that customer gets the report, yeah, they'll be able to download it directly from this, but all of the details you actually care about are going to be right on a nice, easy to read dashboard. From a customer's perspective, at any moment in time, you can revoke access from someone. So say that deal didn't go through and you don't want these people still having your SOC 2 report, you can immediately revoke access, because that's another interesting thing about SOC 2s. Once you fire it off in that email, I don't care if you have an NDA in place or not, you don't know where that SOC 2 is. That thing gets legs, starts going everywhere, and now everybody's seen your SOC 2. Now you can know exactly who has it, who's reviewing it. They have to have MFA to do it, so it's super secure. But one of the things that we want to do at ByteChek is just add a layer of transparency to everything in the compliance industry. And this SOC 2 report dashboard is the first step in that, providing the details people actually care about in a SOC 2. But doing it in a manner that's easy for our customers to share that at scale, so that they don't have to go through these multiple emails that sometimes, if you take too long to get your SOC 2 to a potential prospect, you might lose that deal, because now they're moving on. They got to move fast. And you don't want to have, you got your SOC 2, you did the hard part. Don't let sharing it cause you to lose the deal. So all of the ByteChek customers are going to be able to take advantage of that immediately as soon as we release it. And then also, any future customers are going to be as well. And this is kind of a philosophy of ByteChek. One thing you're not going to see us do is charge you extra for this. You're not going to have to charge per share. You're not going to have to charge because we've created this new feature. This is a part of governance, risk, and compliance. This is a part of the journey, and this is a part of the subscription to the platform that we're including.
So yeah, you mentioned that reporting there, which is fantastic, but talk a little bit about a proof of value. I'm super excited about this, but I need to get my executives to take a closer look at this. It may be obvious to Aaron and I the value you're bringing here, but what are some things that, in that POV that really stands out?
Yeah, the biggest thing immediately is going to be the fact, one of the things we do as soon as you sign up for the ByteChek platform, we'll hand you this letter that you can go give out to customers that say, hey, I've started my journey towards SOC 2. I'm going to finish around this date. Here's the TSEs. And we've had customers close deals with this letter just saying they're getting started. So immediately you're going to get something that allows your sales team to get a little bit of pressure taken off of them. They have something to start to show prospects. The other aspect is time. One of the biggest costs of compliance is not the bill you pay to your auditor. It's the operational disruption to your team. It's the time spent collecting evidence.
They have to meet, right? You have to have your resources meet with the auditor for any reports that you don't have automated. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was good. I was trying to help with that one.
So I talked earlier about the readiness questionnaire, and that's a ton of value to get your roadmap. One of the things that has been an unintended benefit as we talk about proof of value here, Lloyd, is we've had people tell us that they've used our readiness questionnaire feature to facilitate internal conversations. And they said a meeting that used to take 3 hours with their engineers took 10 minutes because they just knew exactly what are the questions to ask. Because they go in there and just tell me about SDLC. And the developers are like,
what do you want to know?
What do you want to know? And they're like, I actually don't know what I want to know. And then they start going and they leave the meeting with 3 pages of notes and have 0 clues. So then they're like, you know what?
They're like, what does SAST mean? What does DAST mean?
Exactly. And they're like, you know what? You're going to tell all of that. You just spent 3 hours with me telling me. You're going to spend 3 hours more with the auditor saying the same exact things because I have no clue what you just said. I have no clue what to tell the auditor. So now they can use our readiness questionnaires to facilitate internal conversations, or in some cases, they just send an email out and say, hey, answer these 5 questions for me, and you won't even have to talk to auditors. I will be able to take it from here. And that right there is the difference between a 3-month process to get prepared to SOC 2 and something that you can do in less than a week, which now means your timeline to get that first SOC 2 type 1 dramatically accelerates. You're able to move so much faster, which then allows you to get this report, which goes out and close these deals. I believe in compliance. I care about it. I care about security, but I'm not going to convince myself that the rest of the world does. And I know people are doing this.
It's a necessity.
They're doing it to close deals. And that's what we know here. That's why our tagline, we say make compliance suck less, because I know it sucks. I know no one wants to do this stuff. They want to do it to get business, and we help you do that as fast as possible.
Lloyd, are you now in your new role, right?
Yep.
Are you seeing the ask? Because we've seen it. He's not your CISO anymore. He's my CISO. Really was shocked with some of the new questions. And Scott's been around the block in a good way. So for some of the questions for our CISO to say, That's a new one. That's interesting. Are some of your customers in the app, with Optiv, are they understanding the importance of this and maturing that process?
Yeah, I think they do. Um, and I think it's fair to say, AJ, that ByteChek's a relatively recent platform that you can bring in. I just don't think, like we've talked about, that people think about it. It's not forefront. It's a checkbox. And, it's a good opportunity to bring that back up to people and bring that back up to organizations to say, hey, what are you doing for compliance? We can help you make this better. So it does come up, it is talked about, but I don't think people realize that there's a better way to do it with ByteChek.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I tell investors that we're so early. They oftentimes investors are kind of get scared because they see a lot of the other tools that exist out there that we compete against and all the money that's being poured into them, which Aaron and I had a good conversation about what it's like to be a Black founder. And when you get into the VC space, less than 1% of VC funding goes to Black founders. So it's a little bit challenging.
I saw that on LinkedIn recently. I was like,
Yeah.
what the
It's
hell
like,
is wrong with that?
It's like very 1%. Like, that's crazy. But anyways, like, so people get kind of scared, but I try to remind folks to what you said, Lloyd, is that there's so many people out there, so many companies out there that don't even know compliance automation exists, that this isn't even a heavy space. We're so early, which is great for me, and it makes me feel really good about where we're at, because it's greenfield. There's so much opportunity.
You can only go up. I'm not saying that because I've known you for a little bit. You can go. I'm saying it as a security practitioner. You can only go up.
Yeah. It's a great space to be in, and hopefully we can educate more people to be more proactive with compliance and do this ahead of time, because I think if we can get people to focus on building a strong security program from the early days, doing the things like the readiness, the policies, all of the things that we encourage folks to do on the platform, security gets so much easier the earlier you start. So much easier. And that's the message I hope people can take away, is that, yes, we help with SOC 2. We really want to help people build strong security programs so that when security does become important, you're not starting from scratch, because it's much harder to incorporate security into your company when you're 30 people than when you're 5. And you should probably start today.
So we're coming up on time here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost a perfect segue. Do you got one last question, Lloyd?
I've got one last question, and I think it's a question that Matt always asks as well, is, I'm on board with ByteChek. I've got it in my environment. This is fantastic. But talk about the ongoing support. What is it like after we sign on with ByteChek and get it going?
Yeah, that's one of our selling points, and some of our documentation that we provide is that I've been fortunate to, one, work in this industry for so long, so I deeply care about this space. A lot of our competitors, founders, are great engineers. They went through a SOC 2 one time and were like, oh my God, this sucks. I want to build a product around it. That's not me. I did over 500 SOC 2 examinations and just lived and breathed this for years, and truly care about this space. And I hired a bunch of people that are the same way, that have built programs. Our customer success team is led by our COO, who is out there in Michigan. She is a Duo alum, and she led security and compliance at Duo. Then she led security and compliance at Gusto, and has been in the industry for 20 years. Our director of compliance, another security and compliance expert, a young woman by the name of Tara Cook, who lives and breathes this stuff, has done this. So when our customers are talking to people on our team, they're talking to people that have been in their shoes. They're talking to people when they ask a question about, hey, what is this about? When they hop into the chatbot, it's not just a customer success manager from the SaaS industry. It's people that have lived and breathed the security and compliance journey. And every single customer gets an assigned GRC engineer, someone that is focused on helping them get through SOC 2. And directly on our platform, on our homepage, this is a feature that I think is pretty rare in the industry. You can grab time on your GRC engineer's calendar at any moment. You don't have to call, you don't have to set it up, you don't have to send an email and try to coordinate back and forth. There is a button with a little calendar icon. You click that, it pops open to the calendar, and you can grab the next available time that you want directly from the platform, because we know compliance, one, not everybody cares about it the way that we do. So you're probably gonna have some questions of like, you know what, I could probably type this out, but it might be easier just to spend 5 minutes just asking this question to somebody that lives and breathes and stuff. And we love talking about it. And then we also want to make sure that we're partners to what you talked about earlier, Aaron, is we're not just here to help you check the box. We're here to be your partners.
Not set it and forget it.
Yep. Yeah. We're going to be there with you along the journey, not just for compliance. We have customers that have reached out and said, hey, we're going to hire this new security role. Can you help me out and just take a look at the job description? I want to make sure I'm putting the right things in here for that. And we have people that have hired security people. So we have example JDs that we share. We've had customers say, hey, like, we have this this customer that's asking us some security questions. Do you mind joining the call with us? Just to be as a support system, just in case there's some questions that we can answer. Absolutely, we'd love to do stuff like that. So we care about our customers. You know, one of our core values is people first. And what I tell people when they join is that starts with you. You know, you have to take care of yourself first. You have to take care of your own mental health. Then it turns and talks about our team, how we treat each other. But it also, people first, is about our customers. And it's not just about the product. It's not just about SOC 2. We truly care about our customers as human and are there for them, whether that's for compliance and security stuff or other things as well, and making sure that there is an actual connection. B2B, people all care about business to business, business to business. I don't care about that. At the end of the day, it's person to person. I am not a business. I am a human. I'm an individual. And when I talk to other people, whether they're our customers or not, I'm talking to an individual. I'm not talking to an entity, and that's how we treat them.
To show that he practices what he preaches, Lloyd.
Yes, that's good. We like to see that.
He is in the process. Are you doing it, or in the process of implementing your 4-day work week?
Oh, we did it. We've done it. Yeah. We have executed on a 4-day work week.
Did you hear that, Spectrum leadership?
Yeah, it's been we started testing it back in late fall of doing what we called quiet hour Fridays, where we'd have no internal or external meetings and just kind of shut down Fridays and tell people just, hey, just focus and lock in, because a part of going to a 32-hour 4-day work week is you got to focus. You got to lock in and get more done in less time. So we started to build those focus muscles early of like turning off Slack, less meetings, and just locking in and doing some stuff. Then we went to half-day Fridays. And then about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we decided that it was time. We tested it. People were being more productive. Our product velocity was going up. We were growing really well. So it was time. And part of it is that I think a lot of people, and I've done it, put way too much importance on what we do for a living. It becomes your identity at some point. And the reason is you spend Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week doing it. Then you get 2 days and really only 1 day, because you get Saturday and then Sunday, you're thinking about Monday. And we're humans, right? Like we should have more to ourselves than just what we do for a living. And we should also have a chance to do the things we need to do as adults, like go to the doctors, take care of our kids, do all of the things.
Be a good dad.
that most of those places are only open on the weekdays. So people are going to do it anyways. You're going to spend work hours going to the doctor. You're going to spend work hours going to the dentist. Why not be able to lock in Monday through Thursday and then have time on Friday to set all those up? And I'll give an example. We hired a new engineer, and I do these 2 weeks after people start. I do fresh set of eyes calls where they meet with me one-on-one and tell me everything that went well in the first 2 weeks, everything they didn't like. And I let them be raw and just give me all the feedback. And she told me about the 4-day work weeks. One of the benefits of it for her is she's getting married in October. And she was super stressed, starting a new job at the startup.
Oh, yeah. It gives her more time to plan. Yeah.
Am I going to do wedding planning? So she was like, you know what? I'm no longer even stressed, because every Friday I've dedicated to wedding planning. And I have 8 hours every single Friday of uninterrupted time. And she's like, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be super easy. And it's just little things like that where now it's something that would have taken over her life for the next 6 months is now something that's super easy because she just got an extra 8 hours. And I'm a firm believer that extra 8 hours people are working of those 40 hours, and studies prove that we actually only work like a third of the time that we spend.
I work with Lloyd. I can concur with those findings.
Yeah. It's like 2 hours.
I know how much time Lloyd is valuable.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't think you're getting that much more out of it. And I believe a focused 32 is much more impactful than an unfocused 40. And we're proving it. And I hope that we become an example that you can grow a really big business, you can solve a really important problem, but you don't have to kill your people in the process. People can enjoy themselves and be humans and live their lives while having all the professional success that you want.
Well, Aaron, I don't know about you. I learned something today. What's that? I said I was taking Matt's playbook. I said, I don't know about you, but I learned something today that ByteChek can make compliance better, and it doesn't have to be. It can
make it less, make it suck less.
Make it suck less. Absolutely. Take us home, Aaron. It's all you.
AJ, seriously, it is always a pleasure. For some people may not know. No, you talked about at the beginning, a former veteran. So the fact that you have lots of things stacked against you and you're rocking it out just makes this success more sweet. And I've been following you for a while. I know you are genuine. If you're not genuine, you're a badass actor. So if this doesn't work out, you'll have to go into acting. So I very much appreciate your time hanging out with us today, and continued success, and whatever you need from us, man, we want you to succeed.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Gotta always add that at the end.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man's could be like, I'm never letting them do one again. And we'll have to make sure he leaves this in the audit. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.